Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimish Shardi, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast. The people it reaches, the impact it has. I started as a passion project, and my intention was really to guide people on their journey, to simplify the spiritual journey. And with the message I get every week and the impact it's having, I know it's reaching the people, and I'm so blessed with it. I was inspired to start it, and it's named after my mentor, my friend who's no longer with us, Sidra Jeffrey, has her initials, and I feel like she guides it too. So, thank you if you're a regular listener. Welcome if you're new. I am an Akashic record reader, trainer, podcast host, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. What I get to do is I guide people on their journey. I hold space while you truly understand why you're here. Help you to understand your purpose, your destiny, and I do that through a beautiful mentorship program over 12 weeks, or through Akashic record reading, or through this podcast. Whichever way, I love what I get to do. And part of this podcast, I get to interview some amazing guests. I'm excited to have Colleen on this podcast. Excited for the conversation that's going to come. But I'd love for you to introduce yourself first, and then we can jump in.
Thank you, Nims. I'm Dr. Colleen Quinn. I am a psychologist. I have always known myself as a spiritual being, but my view of what being a spiritual being is and how that relates to God has certainly grown over the years. I'm a certified breath worker, and I really devoted myself to breath work after my second near-death experience, where I was fighting to find a single breath. I had pneumonia over 10 months, bleeding from my lungs, and the ironic poetry of that is not lost on me, because shortly after that, when I found out I would get well, I asked to be loved in every moment. I took stock in my life, and those prayers said at the very end of our strength, when there's no ego involved anymore and there's just full surrender, we realize we need a power greater than our ego self. They're always answered. I've seen that for myself and all of the clients I've worked with. And so in short order, that led me to a retreat halfway around the world, which was a radical change to my marriage contract. And my husband's like, yeah, go, which was amazing. And that's where I learned breath work, which really changed my whole relationship with this love energy. I, for years, prayed to this patriarchal God outside of me, and it was a diatribe. Hey, this is what I think should happen. And a lot of talking. And when I learned about breath work, I learned how to have that conversation with my soul, which is fully God, and that energy that runs through every object, animate or inanimate. And it was a lot of listening, a lot of great journeys, very vivid imagery and downloads and somatic. A lot of them are ascent journeys, which are just journeys into the cosmos and bliss. And then at my ego's pace of readiness, the descent journeys happen. But far enough into this relationship, I was able to hover over those experiences and look through the eyes of love while fully feeling what I was too overwhelmed to feel at the time. So as any spiritual journey, it's a healing journey. And through it all, there have been just so many miraculous bendings of nature that are just delightful love gifts. But I said to Spirit, after keeping a journal for years, like, this is all so great, but it's got to be for something greater than me. So what's the plan? And I got a resounding write a book. And like you, I was told to inspire. The word inspiration, breath, shares the same root word of inspire. It's only when we're in conscious breath that we are breathing in that energy of the ether along with the air that nourishes our physical body. So when we're amplifying our energy, subtle bodies along with our physical bodies, that's the gateway to presence. That's the gateway to inspiration, and all of life lights up. And I know what the other life is like, and I wish the vibrancy of life for everyone.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that intro and that journey. So I always kind of start every conversation by, just tapping into the current energy. I feel like we're at a time where the planet is shifting so quickly, and we're going through a shift. And I feel like everybody's kind of going through their own shift. And, we have a choice of doing the internal work or getting consumed by the external noise. I'm just curious, how you find this current energy? How are you finding it in terms of your transition, your journey, and what are your clients feeling?
Great question, Nim. So for me personally and all of my spiritual tribe, we're all feeling what I call an intense love squeeze. And it was revealed to me through breath work, and then I looked it up and I found two ancient traditions, the Aztecs and the Hindus, and astrology all predicted this time in our human evolution. And it started around the winter solstice, right at the winter solstice of 2019, which was right when COVID was being born in China. We were all forced to go inward, independent of where we lived or our socioeconomic status or any other factor. And some of us used that time to get to know our own souls. Some of us were terrified because our ego wants to be entertained and amused. So there was rampant depression and anxiety. And this is what we can do with any experience. We can use it to up level us or resist it, and then we're going to have more pain. But it's interesting to me that we all got to this realm the same way, through the birth canal, through those love squeezes. We can call them pain. It will be a different relationship than if we call them a challenge or if we call them a love squeeze. We're going to bring a different energy to it. Word energy matters. And we only ever grow from an uncomfortable place. It's universal in this realm. These love squeezes happen for our up leveling, and love's never going to give up. If we choose to, do it on our strength, and we're going to harden our hearts, it'll be harder and the squeezes will get tighter, but love will never give up. But it is clear to me we're in the second love squeeze of this great awakening. And the all of the cultures predict similar things, that it will take about 50 to 55 years. We're 5-6 years in now, 7 actually. And that at the end of it, 2 things will be different. One is that it will be common knowledge that we are all related, connected, if not one. That would be the higher level of understanding, but at least that we're all connected. The butterfly effect is real. What the butterfly does in China affects the United States. Everything is connected. And then the second is that feminine energy, so not women, but that energy of compassion and good for the whole, will prevail. Now, the patriarchy is not going down without a fight. And so we're seeing that intense, chaotic holding on now, and we're feeling it. And I don't know, I feel like all of 2026 has felt like Mars is in retrograde. Lots of technological issues, but the love squeezes have felt intense. And yet for me, and I'm sure you feel this too, Nims, that through it all, I'm not alone, and I'm much stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. I see it with each challenge. My ability to overcome amazes me even. And I learn in greater measure that we are all fully God. We have all of those capabilities. And my final
sure.
thing that I'll say about it is what seems to be the greatest truth that this challenge has revealed to me is that independent of what it looks like, we're being asked to exercise our trust muscles in a far greater measure than we ever have. That's what I feel. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, the same. And so much of what you say resonates. I feel like we're shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. And you mentioned that. I do feel like, COVID was, I kind of joke about it. I feel like COVID was Mother's Nature's way of sending us to the naughty corner, right? You have an opportunity. Everyone says they're too busy to heal. Okay, we'll do something where you all have the opportunity to heal. Yes, I know there's key workers, and I know there's lots of, but generally the majority of us had more time, and yeah, I do feel that was an opening. And right now, I do feel there's a big shift, and you know what people predict in 50, 60 years, and there's a lot of noise. For me, I like to focus on the present moment, tap into what I feel right now. And right now, I feel like we're going through a shift. I do feel like, you know, there is going to be an energy and a vibration of oneness, but also, everyone has their own free will, right? I feel like we're going to go through a phase where there's going to be a lot happening on the planet, and some people will be consumed by the noise on the planet. Other people will choose to do the internal work, and whichever you choose is perfect, right? There's no right or wrong. Who am I to tell anybody what to do? So I do feel like the divide, whether you call it between the conscious, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, I feel has to go to a deeper level, to maybe even more of a split for people to realize there is a difference. And, light workers, whatever you want to call it, our role is to be the bridge, to give an opportunity for people to see things differently and, give them an opportunity to shift into a different way if you want to choose to do that, right? So I feel like we're all being activated in some kind of way, and it's an interesting time. And as you say, certain religions have predicted this. It depends your interpretation of it, but we're the souls that chose to be here during this time, so we have a role to play. And we, if we're honest with ourselves, how much control do we have of the future? Who? Yes, there was a lot of noise around COVID, and but who really predicted it? Everyone's talking about this age and what it means, but do we really know? I feel like there's some surprise on the way that even those that predicted whatever's coming are going to be surprised, because I feel like the universe has some interesting times. So yeah, I'm here for it. I feel like we're shifting from a phase of completion where we had to integrate, release a lot of karma, and I feel like we're entering into an age of new beginnings. Clues are in the horoscopes, I guess. A fire horse moving from the snake, all the planetary movements we've had recently. There's a lot of clues that the shift is happening, and I'm here for it. Whatever it holds, wherever it holds. But I'd love to dive into, it's always like when somebody jumps on and they talk about NDEs and, kind of meeting their guides in that kind of way. I'd love for you to just take us through one of those experiences and kind of the impact it had on your world.
So I was maybe 2 years into my journey, after I had turned my life over to love, really made that plea and started the daily breath work and the conversation with my own soul. And my soul was saying to me, it's time to shed your greatest shame. And this shame was so deep for me. It was so dark and deep that I had buried it. I didn't think about it. It was deep in my subconscious. And when I got the message, I had met this Akashic Records healer, and I went out to see her.
Yes.
Drove hours, through God's country to this little shop with crystals. And she led me to her room, sitting on a massage table. And the first thing she said to me was, you suffered a great loss early in your life. That's part of your soul blueprint. Tell me about it. And I was like, oh, here we go. She's the real deal. there's, you know, I'll
Beautiful.
strap in because it's coming. And it was beautiful. She, of course, said, so my greatest loss, just for the viewers, for some context, from the day I was born, I lived with my grandparents. Now, my mother lived there too, but she was really part of the background. You know, they were the loving Camelot foundation for us. And I lived with them until I was 9. My grandfather died when I was 9, and he pretty much brokered a deal with the man my mother had not dated very long. My mother had 4 children. So he's like, if you marry my daughter, I will buy you a house, and you need to raise these children until they're grown. They brokered a deal. And I know this because my stepfather threw it up to us often. And they had only dated a short time. My grandfather died right after that.
Wow.
They got married. And so I lived with my mother and stepfather. And that was very traumatic for me because my grandmother was my mother in my eyes. And when I was 12, she wasn't sick at all. She was going on a vacation to visit her other son, and she wasn't going to take me, even though out of all 4 children, I went to see her every weekend. I needed the reprieve. I needed the peace. I don't know what my other siblings were doing, but that's what I needed. Well, she wasn't going to take me. And in front of my whole family, I said, you're going to go there and you're going to die. I'm never going to see you again. Of course, they all said, oh, you're being dramatic. Well, that's exactly what happened. And when she was up there and she had her injury, she laid in the hospital for 10 days. My parents went up, but my uncle convinced them that I and my brother should not go because it would be too hard for his mother. My catharsis would be too hard. And so that was an incredibly dark time in my life. I'm 12 years old, alone for 10 days, barely any food, certainly no emotional sustenance while my foundation is laying dying. And so that's exactly what the Akashic Records healer picked up on. She called Honey into the room and all of my guides, and I felt that the room was very, very crowded, which was, it was very safe, feeling like, wow, there's so many beings in my corner rooting for me. Like, that's healing, right? And she allowed Honey Spirit to come and speak through her, and she said that we were married in a prior life, that she was my husband, and she died very young. Now, what was interesting about that for me, Nims, was I already said I went to her house every weekend. We would bake cookies all day and we'd watch TV like an old married couple, but I would take all of the clothes from her closet and I would try them on. You know, she's an adult woman, I'm a little kid. I'd try them on and I'd have these fashion shows and I was like, this totally makes sense to me. And as Honey, she said, you have your notion of a world that is crumbling. You're starting to see that it is an illusion. And this is the last life for you to have this, but you're going to fully see it. So that was beautiful. She told me that my name in that last life when I was married to my grandmother was Mary Elizabeth. Well, what's fascinating about that is that's my grandmother's legal name in this life, Mary Elizabeth.
Beautiful.
These parallels are just incredible. And she said, now get in touch with your greatest fear. And because my greatest fear was tied to my greatest shame all around, my greatest fear was that she was going to leave me. And at age 12, leaving me being married and she was young is one thing. Leaving me as a 12-year-old, quite another insult,
Yeah.
right? And so we went through this purple flame healing where we put the experiences around that in this box, and it was wrapped with a big chain. And Honey came as a little girl, and she had a snake that I realized was my essence. And it was the way she charmed me and made me feel safe. And so she told me to take the flame from the top of my head and burn the box, which I did. And the box was completely charred, and she said, touch it. And my hands literally felt like they were burned. Like, it was
Wow.
so powerful. I jumped, and but I was so forlorn. I was totally forlorn because I was so in it. And she said, imagine the color blue of Mother Mary. And then Mother Mary was standing at the foot of the bed, and she came into me. And the snake and Mother Mary and I all breathed into my 12-year-old self until she got smaller and smaller and smaller, and she could subsume back into this body. And as
Yeah.
powerful as that was, and it was hugely, hugely powerful for me, it was the first part of me getting in touch with that fear around that week and the resultant shame of that week. When we feel totally abandoned, we do very self-centered things, and I talk about it in the book. Um, and it was and what came out of all of that healing was I saw that in all of us, there is the full capacity for all action and all emotion. We're all part of the one. The darkness and the light are all in the one. And so I have within me the capacity for greatest good as well as greatest evil. Not that I've done every evil thing, but it caused me to have more compassion for everyone and to lose judgment
Mm.
because everything is in me. I have the same capacity as part of my humanity as everyone else. So it really was the beginning of quite a powerful, and all journeys, all healings are not one and done. It's rare that a healing is one and done, but it played a
Yeah, it's a journey.
significant role to open the door for everything that needed to happen.
Beautiful. So tell us a bit more about your journey into. Cause it's interesting you got a PhD, and so it's almost like you're in both worlds, right? In kind of the academic and academia, whatever that means, and you're a spiritual being. So I'm curious, how does that work out? How are you finding it in both worlds?
Yeah, Nim. So, when in undergrad, I started studying religions of the world, but I went to a state university where most of the classes were geared around why there is no God. And so we'd have these essay tests. I'd go, here's what you taught, here's what I believe.
Hmm.
And I did well because I wrote a lot. But I knew I couldn't ever teach that to anyone. And my
Hmm.
first psychology course was a parenting course, which I had children at the time. And I was like, well, this would have been good to know. So I switched majors immediately. But what I loved about psychology is the word comes from the Greek. It means study of the soul. All healing paths are spiritual paths because true spirituality is healing of all of us, our minds, our hearts, our bodies, our souls. Our souls are fully intact. I shouldn't have said that, rewinding the tape. Not our souls, our minds, our bodies, our hearts. But psychology really is driven by managed care, and most patients want immediate gratification, so they want band-aid fixes. So there's a lot of skill building, but not a lot of healing. True healing is very different. And so as I went along in my journey, I had published lots of scientific research. I was the chief psychologist at a residential treatment center, and we were teaching a treatment based in mindfulness. And I was having this existential crisis because I'm teaching it, but at the
Mm.
time I could barely stay out of my own head for more than 5 minutes. So I felt like a fraud. Like, how is anybody even doing this? I was unaware of the amount of trauma I had that I hadn't addressed at that point, because we do bury it so deeply in our subconscious. And it really was breath and these descent trips that started to unravel for me just how much unresolved trauma I had in there. I was very grateful that I had a breathwork partner who, love is the only true healer. And so when you can hold that space and be pure love no matter what, it does allow you the safety to work with the energy. And universally, what I see happen is the story we wrap around the experience gets flipped like a
Mm.
coin.
Yeah.
So if I wrapped around the car accident that I was in, that was my first near death experience, I was hit head on in my lane. For years, well, I'm the victim. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing to deserve that.
Mm.
That keeps me a victim. But when I revisit the story and focus on the fact that I was in the tunnel, surrounded, inculcated by love, that's a gift that most people don't have. And when love says to you anything, of course, our souls are like, yes, of course, I'll do that. So
Mm.
love conveyed to me, we would like you to go back, but it's your choice. Well, in choosing to come back, that's incredibly empowering. And the reality is, we all choose to be here every single day that we wake up.
Mm.
Well, when we own that, we own the power of it. It changes the way we show up to our lives. But the stories routinely would change as I would hover over them from the eyes of love, fully feeling them, fully feeling what I was too afraid, too overwhelmed to feel at the time. And then it changes that energy. It's not that it gets released necessarily, it's more like it gets harmonized and integrated, because it is part of who I am. Every experience we've had makes up the sum of who we are. It just changes the harmonics of it so we can live in full integration with it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, you've clearly led a full life, right? You had a lot of experiences. You kind of the experience growing up and the impact that had, and the near death experience with the car crash, and you've clearly chosen an expansive life where your soul has gone through a lot, and I choose my words carefully. It's something your soul chose, right? The human sometimes goes through its own journey, but the soul, I agree, definitely picked. So but let's go to talk to me about your book. I mean, I know you mentioned your book a couple of times, but tell me what the journey with that. Is it kind of you sharing your journey? What's the journey with your book, and what inspired it? Was it channeled? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so I was so blown away by these bendings of reality. And I did say to Spirit, like, what's this all about? And Spirit said, it is to inspire. And so I never wrote until I would do breath work or meditation first, because I really wanted to allow love to write through me. That was very, very important to me. And I believe in the power of word energy. I mean, in the Bible, I follow all the religions, but God said, let there be light. And then there was light. word energy is one of the most powerful energies we have as creators, as co-creators of our lives. And so I wanted these words to be pristine. And I viewed my book as sort of like Eat, Pray, Love was radical 25 years ago when it was written. I wanted it to be like Eat, Pray, Love 2.0. So I wanted it to be a primer of a how-to of what you could expect on this journey, which can be quite unnerving because the ego doesn't want to let go. The ego, these are our young, wounded children in us, a conglomeration of them, and they have immature coping, but they have great intentions. They're trying to protect us, but their coping is to make our lives very small. And so we get cut off, our hearts get hardened, we're living in our ivory towers all alone and lonely because there's side effects to their coping. So it's a primer of how do we go through this transformation of letting go of the ego-driven life to a life that enjoys the free fall into the mystery of love, a love-led life. And that's quite a journey. And interwoven in the story is a love story. I've been married for 46 years. I have a vibrant marriage. I call my husband the guru of love, and he deserves it. But it's the love story is with my breathwork partner. It's amazing when you are gazing into someone's eyes and you are both in conscious breath work and you're surrendered to the leadings of the soul, which was always honorable, but the outpouring of love and the way you get to know someone on both a fully human level and a soul level. And often what would happen, we'd be like, that was really interesting. And I would look it up. And these were all practices of Tantra. And Tantra gets a reputation as all sexual, but it's not. It's rooted in devotion. It's rooted in devotion with every moment of our lives. And in breathwork, that phrase essence merging came to me. When we are, there's no separate sense of self. There's no me, there's no you, there's just this moment. That is a powerful, sacred moment. And we can have that available in every moment to merge with the moment at hand. So this love story really is the love story of my breathwork partner and I believe that he knows me better than anyone. And vice versa. I came to realize that he is my twin flame. I had visions about it before I ever heard the word. I had in breathwork, I was a community breathwork. I saw two horses running across time and space with manes and tails of fire, and they would outrun each other. And then those horses morphed into me and my breathwork partner, and we bounce up against each other and we come apart. And I think that's been our dance through all of history. Come together and come apart. And that's a healthy relationship. You have experiences together and apart. So it enriches when you come back together. But I learned a lot through that, Nims. I learned that it's unrealistic to expect one person to fulfill every need and want and desire of yours. And all relationships are practice partners for what's out of alignment with love. It's unrealistic that one person could push all those buttons to show you what your hooks are. And when you allow love from multiple places, love begets love. So your heart becomes filled and it's easier to splash that love everywhere. And that's a good thing. And it's lovely that my husband is safe enough and secure enough that he realizes that.
Interesting. I mean, we definitely have multiple soul contracts, right? And, we learn from multiple people, we grow from multiple people. And who's to say there's meant to be one person with you in your whole life? There's the only teacher, right? And we have many teachers, many expanders. So, but it's beautiful. Yeah, it's nice to. So tell us more about breath work. So, if somebody was listening and maybe I feel like a lot of people do breath work, but it feels like breath work has had a deeper impact on your journey. So share more about what that and share what breathwork and how it can help us, what it can do to kind of get us to be present on this journey.
Yeah, so there's several types of breath work. Many of them are fast paced. I can't do them, they make me dizzy. The power of the slow, circular, integrative type of breath that I do, physiologically, it puts our nervous system into parasympathetic relaxation, puts our brainwave pattern into a delta brainwave pattern, which is restorative and relaxing. But as you go deeper into it, what will happen is your subtle energy body does loosen from your physical form, and your brainwave pattern can go into gamma. In gamma, your full brain is lit up. It's very similar to what you would experience on psychedelics. Your default mode network, which is, we know that this network exists in the brain. We see it on functional MRIs, and it maps onto Freud's construct of the ego. So it's self-referencing, it looks for the shortcuts, it gets us sleepwalking through life, and our brain kind of wants to take the easy way. I mean, there's a part of all of us but that quiets down and it drops us into our midbrain, which is known as the seat of the soul. That's where the pineal gland is. So physiologically, you're taking that breath from the base of your spine, and it's like you're moving energy. You're pulling it up, 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 up the spine, all the way up to the pineal gland. And it's a full breath till you cannot take in any more breath. Now, I want to pause here because a lot of people, we're used to breathing with about half of our lung capacity. So we think we got a full breath when we're here. It's a full breath till you cannot take in anymore. In through the nose, out through the nose. And it's circular, so there's no gaps. So when you get to the top and that energy is in your pineal gland, you're going to let that breath fall out. And it's going to fall out even more slowly than you brought it in. In Hindu, they're so well versed in this breath work in their culture that they felt this loosening of the energy body from their physical forms so much. And when that happens, the need to take in breath becomes less. So they have a word called samadhi, which means being breathed. And I've experienced that where there's almost no breath at all. But going back to the physiology of it, when you are pulling that breath and that energy up your spinal column, there's crystals in your cerebral spinal fluid. So you're almost massaging them, pulling them up to the ventricles that surround your pineal gland. When those crystals get compressed in those ventricles and they put that massaging pressure on the pineal gland, DMT gets released. Now, Nims, do you know what DMT is?
Please tell us.
DMT is the active ingredient in psychedelic plant medicines. Yeah. We are all taught that it's outside of us in these plants, but it actually lays dormant in our own pineal glands. What's amazing, the parallel between the physical and the spiritual, when we're outside, when our subtle body comes out of our physical forms, it naturally magnetizes to this collective love energy that runs through everything. And when we feel that wholeness, when we're in wholeness, what we feel is bliss. We feel the bliss and we call it love. But what it really is the wholeness and the unity that we all remember in our DNA back to the Big Bang when we were all together as unique manifestations of the one. We remember it, and that's what we're all actually looking for. We say we're looking for love. What we're really looking for is that unity. When we are in it and we feel the bliss and that DMT comes out, it's the bliss chemical, it comes into our cells with a message of well-being. And in our cells, we get an upgrade in the amount of interstitial fluid in our cells. Okay. Now that's powerful because it allows for a higher frequency to amplify. This is a direct expression of how the physical changes the spiritual and the spiritual changes the physical. They're bi-directional. It's powerful.
Everything's all connected, right? Everything is all, it's that oneness that we're looking for. It's like, it isn't, are we looking for love? It's more that experience, that connection. That's beautiful. It's a nice way of describing it, the connection, the journey, and how important breath is. I think that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and who wouldn't want to feel bliss every day?
100%. Yeah, and it's so, and as you say, we could find bliss within us, right? And there's so many ways of connecting with that bliss, that love, that energy, that vibration you are. And breath is prana, right? It's life force. It's a beautiful way of connecting you to you.
I love that you said we can find it within us, because the truth is it has to come from within us. It's never going to come from out here.
Yeah. I mean, everything we need is inside us, right? All the love, all the joy. Anything external, I'll always say, anyone I work with, I'm guiding you to you. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not, who am I to tell you what to do? Everything in the spiritual journey, my epiphany came when I realized everything I need is inside me. And I was searching outside. The moment I started looking inside, that's the biggest shift. So, that's the, I'm not telling, it's like AI is now an additional. So I never tell you to kind of don't validate, use whatever you want and whoever you want. But your first sort of connection should always be inside. We have access to so much information, so much. So why are we looking outside, right? And
absolutely,
everybody's on their own journey, right? But it's all good. So as we're kind of getting to the end of the podcast, I'd love for you to share, how can people work with you? What does that look like? What do you offer the universe? How does that look?
Well, I have paused my private practice. I helped a lot of people using breathwork and internal family systems, which I talk about in the book, which are the ways to get to know all those wounded children that are that make up our ego, and somatic experiencing. So how to go in, find the energy, listen to the energies in our body so they don't have to scream so loud, and complete the actions that did not get completed at the time, so that that dense energy can be released and we can change our relationship with it. But really now I devoted myself to writing and inspiring. I do offer on my website 9 simple steps to awakening. It's free. So nice. That's something that's out there. I do have I have 3 breathwork videos on YouTube, but one is a simple 5-minute step-by-step one that I can send you the link and you can put it with this.
Yeah, sure, nice.
Yeah, that'd be great. And for people that are inspired, honestly, every night, I think when we go to sleep, it's an act of mercy. Our essence gets floats in liminal space, detached from our bodies. And in the morning, when I awake, there's that moment of thud. I'm back here in this dense form, and I need the breath work to remember who I am and to fill my font, to be filled with bliss, so I can go out and have the kind of day that really lights me up. When I don't do it.
So you're allowing your breath to reset, right? It's almost like you're emptying your cup, so you can then breathe out whatever, and then you can experience the world as a vessel. Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
And tell it, when is your book already out? When's it going to be released? What's it called? How can people find it?
Sure. It's called Essence Merging. I can send you a link. It will be released April 30th. I'm very excited about that. The
Oh, it's
reviews are
perfect. This episode will come out after the 30th anyway, so
beautiful.
perfect.
And the reviews are quite humbling. I mean, when I read these reviews, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're feeling what spirit wants them to feel. Like that's just it. Like you, I know the greatest feeling in this whole realm is being picked by love to do anything. You're like, I got picked.
I love it. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's nice to get that feedback. It's nice to, I mean, this podcast is my book, right? It's my way of sharing. It's my way of sending love, and yeah, so that's beautiful. Um, so yeah, we'll include the link to the book in the show notes. Beautiful, of course, and encourage people to go and buy it, and yeah, support Colleen's journey. So as we getting ready to close, is there one bit of advice you have for anybody that's kind of going through a journey? Maybe any bit of wisdom you want to share that's going to help somebody on the journey. Maybe they're going through a shift, an awakening, trying to find who they are at a deeper level. What would you advise? Any bit of a wisdom as we close out?
If they're already on the journey and they're trying to find a deeper level, I would have two pieces of advice. One is, so we talked about breath work, that's a journey, but the other piece of that is conscious breathing. So our breath can be done unconsciously, it's going to feed our cells. When it's done consciously, we're taking in not only the air, but that higher etheric energy into our subtle bodies. And it is the gateway to presence. It's the only action in our bodies that can be done involuntarily or voluntarily. That is the gateway to presence, and you can come back at any moment. Coming back to your breath, to the present moment, allows you into the mystery, allows you to hear what Spirit's trying to say to you. It makes all of life more vitally alive. So that's the first thing. The second one is it's okay to say to Spirit, I'm at the end of my will, I'm at the end of my strength. I need your help. That is the gateway to the full surrender that opens up our heart enough to let love in. So if you're having a tough time, there's probably some resistance in there. Allow yourself the collapse. Allow yourself to get to the end of your strength. That's what's going to move it forward. That would be my two pieces of advice.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I agree. It's like if you're going through something, then it is the universe. It's your guide. There's something trying to expand you. There's a lesson there for you, sure, right? So, and breath is such a beautiful way to bring back to you. It allows you to be present. So thank you for all your wisdom. Thank you for all you shared. I will include your details in the show notes. And sending everybody so much love and light. This is such a challenging period if you choose it to be. But something simple as your breath is going to allow you to be present, to understand, and to really embrace this journey and enjoy it. Because I really do feel like, this journey is here to be experienced, but also to have fun with. So I'm sending so much love and light out. If the conversation inspired you, then please do buy Colleen's book, reach out to us. We'll include the link to the YouTube. And yeah, if my voice resonates, if there's something I can help you with, please do reach out. Sending everyone so much love and light, and embrace this journey and enjoy. Colleen, again, thank you. Sending you so much love and light, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.